This is from 6 years ago. Ave, you are 8 years old. Jack, you are 16 years old. Um, the two of you separately, because you've never met before, the two of you separately are actually attending a illusionist magic show, actually, that just came into town. And it is a show where there are multiple illusionists and magicians that sort of perform throughout the evening. And so let's start with Ave. Ave, you are in the audience right now. I'm assuming that you're relatively engaged, like watching these people perform. Let's say that right now there's a magician that's doing the thing where the very classic, like sawing a person in half, like very classic. And while this is happening, you're with your parents on the far end of the audience. You are sitting in between your older sister and your older brother, who are Rook and Lori. And can you just describe how Ave is reacting, like, while he's watching the performances?
So he's generally, when he sees something that's really very creative and very beautiful to watch, he disappears from the world a little bit. So he's just watching the show. Things that are happening around him are like background noise, and he's not really immediately reacting. So people have to, like, if they are talking to him, they have to like say the same thing 2 or 3 times before they get his attention, and he's just off.
Cool. So you're very focused on this. You're really into this performance. Despite that, however, despite the fact that you are focused, you can't help but realize, like, on your peripheral, that your brother, who's next to you, he's not paying attention to the performance at all. He's sort of distracting himself, instead, like, carving, making like a wooden carving. He doesn't seem to like care about what's happening, and you're not really sure what he's carving, but he's carving something. Do you pay him any mind, or you just ignore him and continue watching the show?
Is it like is it nervously carving, or is it just bored carving?
Just bored, like. Like, I have zero interest in this whatsoever.
He's gonna watch it a little while he's carving, and tries to focus again on the show. And he gets distracted every now and then. Then at some point he'll just nudge his brother. Look,
what? He says.
Why aren't you watching the show? It's so good.
He's like, what's good about it? They're just doing some stupid tricks. It's none of it's real.
Yeah, but it's, it's magical, and maybe even if it's not real, it's really well done. A lot of time goes into that, as much time as goes into your carvings. So
Rook is just gonna shrug. And Lori, if you look towards her, she looks really annoyed at her brother as well. She's the oldest of the three of you, and she turns towards Rook, and she says, "Rook, what are you doing? Mom and Dad paid a lot of money for us to see this show, and all you're doing is distracting yourself." And Rook says, "If I'm not into it, I'm not into it. I'm tired of people telling me what I should or shouldn't like."
He's gonna just stay quiet for now, because he doesn't really like it when his family is arguing with each other. And just noticeably goes into himself a little bit. His posture shrinks a little bit, and just gets a little bit nervous as well.
So while this is happening, meanwhile, Jack, you are also in the audience separately, and you're with your dad. Just out of curiosity, is Jack into this? This is like something that your dad took you to, maybe as an attempt to like spend some time with his son. The only problem is, your dad, all throughout this evening, he's got this flask that he sort of snuck in to the performance, and he's been like just taking a swig. You can already smell the smell of like really cheap liquor emanating from him as he's just taking several swigs. His eyes are like glossing over, starting to turn a little bit red. And so I think he has been, trying to do some small talk with his son, but nothing really like deep. So how are you like reacting to the performance or to him as he's just kind of getting drunk off his butt during this performance?
Okay, so the smell's a bit distracting. That's the first part. But I'm trying my best to pay attention to the show, and Jack is unimpressed. He's like, oh, I've seen this before. I know how they do it. I'm like, oh, I could do that trick, or like, oh, I could read a book and do magic tricks, and like this one would probably be like on the second page or something. So like he's unimpressed, but he's still somehow entertained.
Okay. But you're not like, you're ignoring your dad. Are you engaging with him in any way while he's drinking, or not really?
Sometimes he looks at me and he hands out the flask to me. He's like, hey, son, you want some? And like I turn him down. I just push him. I'm like, no, you know I don't drink, Dad, and I'm 16.
Loosen up, would you? You're gonna be a man soon.
And you're a man, and like you shouldn't be doing like this here. There's a time and place for everything. Which I'm trying to pay attention to the show. Can't you see?
Sometimes I think you're forgetting which one's the dad and which one's the kid.
Well, and honestly, if I would follow your every step, I'd probably be a mess.
A mess? Me? He sort of hiccups a little bit. He takes another swig. He says, I work hard. He says, he doesn't really work hard, but he says, I work hard. I put food on the table, clothes on your back, roof over your head. What more could you want from me?
That's from Mom. Mostly. Look, like, whatever, okay? Just do your thing, but don't force me to follow you into this.
I'm not forcing you anything. I'm just trying to, like I said, get you to loosen up, enjoy life for once. He'll take another swig. One of the magicians finishes his performance after, taking their lovely assistant out from the box that he just sawed like her in half in. Your dad sort of like makes some googly eyes at the lovely assistant. When that performance is over, it moves into the next act. And, the spotlights will start flashing around. Everybody is like applauding to welcome whoever the next performer is. And out from the curtain enters a individual who looks like this. It is a half-orc. And the half-orc comes in very well dressed. He's got like a pocket watch chain around his waist. He's got some glasses, and he enters in very theatrically, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between of all ages, I am the great Seymour, the Sensational. I am one of the greatest mentalists in all the land. Today, I will bedazzle you with my mental abilities." Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Many of you are thinking, what is this? A half-orc into the performing arts? Really? Well, I've been called a lot of things throughout my life. Sensational has never been one of them. So I thought I would take it upon myself to control my own fate and call myself Sensational. What say you? He says. The crowds are sort of like, half clapping. So half orcs, just like they are in D&D, they do have a little bit of a negative rap to some of the public. They're not always the most trusted or looked favored upon. But, so the reactions to the crowd's a little bit mixed from this individual performer. And Seymour says, well, perhaps I'm being a little presumptuous. I'll tell you what. What if I attempt to do a little bit of a performance, and we'll see what you all think. Behold, he says, for my first trick, I will require 2 volunteers. And he's going to hold out 2 flowers, which are, you can certainly roll some sort of like botany roll if you'd like. For if either of you want to, you're welcome to. The DC is a 10, if either of you are care. I don't know if any of you care. If you don't care, then that's fine. They are blue.
2 entranced with
That's fine.
What's going to happen to care about the flower?
They're 2 flowers with that have orange blossoms. 2 orange blossoms on them. And he is going to throw 1 at the audience on the right, 1 to the audience on the left, and he will instruct whoever catches them to again throw it randomly in any direction that they choose. And then the last 2 people that catch it, he again instructs them, throw them anywhere that randomly they choose. And by chance, because of course it happens by chance, the people who ends up catching them are indeed Jack and Ave.
Ave did his very best to catch it.
Maybe it was about to go. Yeah, he basically almost like snatched it from like some old ladies like lap. I think the old. Go ahead.
Like I just like I'm not focused on the show. I'm like looking at my father as he sips. I'm like, oh God. And as I turn around, there's just like the flowers just fall on my laps.
Nice.
Oh.
I see we have our volunteers. Please step forward onto the stage. And just as a mention to you, Jack, your dad is passed out, like completely out by the time this happens.
I tap on his shoulder. I'm like, Dad, hey, forget it. As I just like reluctantly step up and move to the stage.
Okay.
Ave is gonna be a little bit distracted by the fact that he stole it from the old lady. He's just looking eyes at her. I'm sorry. And then runs off to the stage.
You'll go off to the stage, and I think Lori will applaud. Politely applaud as you go up to the stage. Rook will, he will temporarily stop what he's carving, and he will put down his carving just to watch whatever it is you're about to do. So you both will get up on stage. Seymour, the Sensational, will, get the 2 of you, and we'll say, let us give our volunteers a round of applause. And there'll be an applause from the crowd. He'll turn to Ave first, and he says, you, sir, what is your name?
Ave, sir.
Ave, sir.
Ave.
Well, Ave,
Yes.
How old are you, young man?
I'm 8 years old.
8 years old. And how about you? He says, turning towards Jack.
I am Jack.
Jack, how old are you, Jack?
I am 16.
16. Tell me, Ave and Jack, have we ever met before?
Yeah, I kind of like look around and like I look at him and like, no.
Not that I know of, no.
All right. Have the 2 of you, he says, pointing to your 2 characters, have you ever met each other before?
I don't believe so, no.
No.
All right. Very well. That's perfect. That is perfect. Even though the 2 of you have never met, and even though we have not met, we are about to do something sensational. Now,
Knowing each other? Oh, sorry.
well, you might get to know each other a little bit better very soon, very soon. Ave, since you are the younger of the 2, I will let you decide the fate of you and your partner. So tell me, Ave, my good sir, would you prefer to draw or to dream?
Dream?
You would prefer to dream. Very well. Excellent. Excellent. He says. He will take you over to a stool of some sort, and he will help sit you down into the stool. Wait right there, Ave. As for you, Jack, if you would follow over me, right over here to the opposite side of the stage. And as he leads you to the opposite side of the stage...
Yeah, as he instructs, I follow.
Yeah. There will be a small, like student's desk, like in a classroom, a student's desk, which has a piece of paper and a box of crayons on there. Since Ave chose to dream, you will draw. So if you could have a seat right here. Now, Ave, here is what I would like you to do. He pulls on the gold chain around his waist and he pulls out a pocket watch. And he takes the pocket watch and he puts it in front of your face. And he says, now, Ave, I want you to focus very carefully on the watch. Follow it with your eyes. And he'll start to do the very traditional, like, hypnotist move where he's, like, swinging the watch back and forth like a pendulum. Ave, I would like for you to think of Jack's name, picture Jack's name in your head, and I would like you to spell Jack's name backwards for me.
K C A J.
As soon as you say the letter J, you immediately like fall asleep into a trance and you're out.
Mhm.
The crowd starts to like ooh and ah a little bit, and Seymour the Sensational puts the pocket watch back away, and then he sort of leans in and he's still microphone, so you can still hear what he's saying even though he's whispering in your ear, and he says, Ave, can you hear me? If you can hear me, raise your left hand. You can't hear him while you're in the trance. Alright, good, Ave. Wait one moment while I attend to Jack now. He says, Jack, I would like you to pick up the box of crayons, and I just want you to start drawing. Draw the very first thing that pops into your head. And I'm assuming, I mean, do you do as he says?
Yeah, I will draw a very simple landscape with a small house and like some animals that are like running around and everything. You know, Jack's good at drawing. He has some experience.
So you're drawing that. Before you actually begin to draw it, however, Seymour the Sensational will go back to Ave. And he says, Ave, this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about a memory. Any memory from your childhood that was very pleasant. Any memory at all.
Right. He's gonna start thinking about a time when he was just sitting with his brother, and his brother was like showing him one of his carvings and just showing just a beautiful little carving of maybe a horse or something. Very detailed.
Jack, while you're starting to draw this landscape drawing that you're making,
yep.
Something starts to come over you a little bit. Like your head starts to feel the thoughts in your head start to feel a little woozy, and you yourself start to go into some sort of a mild trance. You're still awake, because I mean you're certainly awake enough to draw on this piece of paper, but you are starting to see what Ave is seeing, almost like you yourself are superimposed yourself into his memories. Ave, you actually also see Jack all of a sudden in this memory, which is not actually what happened because Jack wasn't there back then. What do either of you do now that you're in Ave's memories right now?
I thought about just turning around and looking around. How does the place look like? What does it look? What does it look?
So
what does the place
the
look like?
house miraculously does look like the house that you had in your head that you were drawing. And if you look outside the window, the landscape surrounding the house also looks like the landscape that you just randomly envisioned in your head as well, that you were about to draw.
Okay, so suddenly I'm very surprised. I'll do some kind of like surprised look, like, wow, I didn't know that it looked like that. Why did I draw that then? That's interesting. Like I'm trying to figure out like what happened for me to have this this place in mind, like through this whole thing. So do I see Ave and his brother? Yeah, okay. So I'll move up to them and say, "Excuse me, Ave, where are we? What's this place?"
Yeah, we are home, but so we did know each other.
I don't
so
remember
weird.
being here.
Oh, but you recognize the place, right? You don't seem so phased.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Maybe you're friends with my brother.
I turn around and look at his brother and like, do I have any recollection of this person?
No, you've never
No.
seen.
Okay.
You really never have seen Rook or Abe before in your life.
Okay.
Never met them before.
So
You just stand out a bit.
so I'll still point Rook and ask him like, have we seen each other?
Yeah, if you try to interact with Rook in any way, he doesn't notice you at all. Unlike Ave, he's not a interactable character in this memory.
so if I even if I advance and like tap on his shoulder and like try to say, hey, hello,
yeah,
there?
if you try to
This doesn't bulge.
if you try to touch him anyway, your hand actually passes through him. You can't touch him at all.
Okay, it's like that. All right, just wanted to make sure. So I'll go back to Ave and say, so what do we do in this here place? Anything fun? I don't know.
I was watching how my brother was making this beautiful carving. Always. Do you like voices?
Voices? What kind of voices?
Yeah, like like doing different types of voices. Maybe. Do you like dragons?
Dragons?
Yeah, like a very, very angry dragon. Like this one.
Oh, I am a very powerful dragon. Fear me. Kind of like this? That's cool, huh?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I'm glad you like.
You're
I'm
really
glad
good
you
at it
liked
as
it.
well.
Yeah.
Did you like other?
I'll still like look at the carving of his brother. Is it like really well done? Like what does it look like? Can you describe?
Yeah, so the carving that his brother is making right now is actually, it looks like a bear no, not a bear, a panda. He's carving a panda.
Okay. I'm surprised to see this kind of animal like being carved in a forest that's like in a place that's absolutely not this kind of environment.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of off, so I'll turn back to Ave and say, do you know of this animal right there? The animal that your brother is carving in this place.
Does it look like a panda from this one?
Yeah. Same. Does your brother like pandas? You know?
Actually, I don't really know. I suppose he does, yeah. He only makes things that he really likes, so...
I always thought that pandas were cool. They're just big bears, but they look cooler than the actual bears, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Like a normal bear has like only one color. It's very boring, really.
Yeah, and I guess pandas are really flashy with their colors.
Can you do like a panda?
Oh,
I've never heard a panda before, so
Now, how do I imitate some kind of like panda roar? Do I have it in me to do that? Oh, I think I screwed up my throat from the last dragon, the last dragon voice I did. Sorry, I would like to do more, but my voice is exhausted.
That's all right. You know, have to take care of your voice. It's
Yeah.
really important. But you do know how to do one, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like maybe
I-
you can show me
just-
one day.
I look kind of like not sure of my response. I kind of like close my head a little bit, and yeah, probably. We'll see.
After you say that, the scene around you starts to shift and swell and blur. So here's what happens next. Now, out of character, Seymour the Sensational asked Ave to think of one of his fondest childhood memories. Jack, can you please, out of character, tell us what is one of Jack's darkest or saddest childhood memories up to this point?
If I had to say, it would be in a like in his house, in his home, and it would have happened like when he had like 7 or 8 when he was 7 years old, and it would be when his father had a really big dispute. Again, he was drunk, and he talked really loudly. He had a big conflict with mom, and like he started throwing things, started punching walls, and like he just got out of the house, and like that's how his parents got divorced, basically. So that's his darkest memory, like from the
Okay.
start.
So that scene, your darkest memory, actually plays out in this space. And Ave, you are witnessing this as well yourself. And while it's playing, again, you can't interact with any of the characters here. So you can't stop the father, you can't do anything, because if you try, you just pass through them. But after both of you witness and essentially like relive one of Jack's worst memories, what happens?
How is Jack reacting to this?
Okay, I'll first thing I'll do is I'll kneel on the floor, and I'll look at the whole situation and say, "Oh, not again, no. Why is it showing this out of all the moments? Dad, why did you go and do this? You and Mom made such a great couple. I loved you both, and now you're far apart."
Ave's gonna sit down next to him.
What happened?
Well, Dad decided that enough was enough one day. That he needed more attention from her because she was putting every single inch of her life into becoming a more prevalent politician. She was not spending much time at home. Dad felt alone, so alone. So one day she came back, and he just became violent, like that, like you just saw.
So, you didn't like that she was doing what she wanted?
Yeah, because my father is quite selfish. It's a shame, isn't it?
My parents also don't like it when we do what we want, really.
Well, when both parents are living that way, it sure is a better it sure is a better way to live. How are your parents? However they are, I hope that they're gonna stay together for a while. long enough for you to grow into a good person.
They love each other.
Great.
They love us.
I'll shed a tear and like wrap my arm around Ebba and and kind of like slowly hug him.
He's slightly shaking.
As you embrace each other and share this very, tender moment, even though you were complete strangers just moments ago. So even though all of this is playing in your heads, to the audience outside, only a few seconds had passed by. Enough seconds for Jack to finish his drawing. So my question to you, Jack, is technically, yes, the landscape was the first thing that popped into your head with the house and everything. But ultimately, it's up to you to decide what you're drawing for the rest of this scene. So what does Jack ultimately draw?
Okay, so since you have some more vivid recollection of what the place looked like, Jack's gonna add some much needed details to this place, especially right next to the house where we were hanging out in the dream. I'll also draw us three with Eva's brother carving since it's a landscape, it's gonna be quite small, so we can't exactly tell what his brother is carving, but we can almost tell that it kind of looks like a bear.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so that's what you draw. Seymour the Sensational, when he notices that you're done drawing, he will says, "Excellent, Jack, excellent. If you could just please turn your drawing over so nobody can see it. I don't want anyone else to see it. As for you, Ave," he goes over to Ave, and then he snaps his finger. And Ave, you come out of your trance. Ave, I had asked you to share with us one of your fondest memories from your childhood. Can you please describe what you saw in your memory?
I saw Jack sad.
Seymour looks a little bit taken aback by this. You saw Jack sad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He looks a little worried. Seymour the Sensational looks a little worried, as if I did not expect you to say that, because he was I thought it was supposed to be a happy memory, and certainly not a sad memory that involves another person. So Seymour very nervously looks at Jack and it says, "Jack, could you please reveal to the audience your drawing?"
Yeah, I'll step up from the desk and just kind of show the drawing, and since it's probably not some kind of massive paper, I'll probably go down the the stairs and kind of pass it in front of people so they can see.
Okay.
And get back on stage when I'm done showing it to the front row.
So you show the drawing to the audience, and presumably what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to match. What Ave says is supposed to match with what you draw. But unfortunately, the reality is it doesn't match.
Yeah.
And so since it doesn't match, there's some confusion in the crowds. You're like, is that what's supposed to happen? And Seymour is looking very nervous. He's starting to perspire. This has never happened to him before. And the audience actually starts to boo at him, and they start to throw things at him. And they're like, "Get that orc off of here! He's no mentalist. He's not sensational." And
Abe's gonna walk towards Seymour and just grab his hand.
Did I do something wrong?
Seymour looks down at you, and he just gives you a bit of a swallow, and he he looks very shaken up. Like the confidence that he had going in just kind of dropped, and he's also trying to play it off too. He's like trying to use his charisma as best as he can to, oh, it was supposed to happen like that all along, but he couldn't think of a good explanation because he didn't really have. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll raise my voice and speak to the crowd and say, no, like you guys don't understand. You weren't in our shoes. He made us see visions of our past, and this guy right there, Ave, saw one of my memories, and I saw one of his memories, the one that was drawn on this paper right here. So Ave is probably shocked because of the vision he saw of me. So yeah, like he actually did something incredible, like you guys don't understand.
You'll try to explain that to the crowd. So go ahead and roll, I guess, persuasion or persuasion. You rolled a natural 20.
Yeah, I rolled a
okay,
cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
This is a good time to roll a natural 20. So it looked like for a moment that poor Seymour Sensational was about to be humiliated by the audience, but Jack somehow makes a very compelling explanation as to what happened, and that does seem to get the crowd like behind, like sympathetic towards Seymour the Sensational, and he will like apologize to the crowd. He says, "Do not blame the kids. I am the one who messed up, but I assure you, sometimes the mind plays tricks on us, even the best of us, and sometimes it's very unpredictable even for sensational people like me. But I want you to at least recognize my volunteers for putting themselves up here and allowing themselves to be vulnerable to all of you and sharing some difficult memories from their past." And the audience will like applaud and clap for that.
I look at the distance where my father is standing, like completely passed out now.
He's passed out.
I'll
totally
be like,
missed him.
I just look at him and I frown. I'm like, ugh. Gosh darn it. All right.
Ave is not letting go of Seymour's hand, and he's just looking at him.
Seymour will look at you and he'll give you a squeeze, and he will just whisper to you, "It's all right, boy. It's all right. You didn't do anything wrong."
You're a real wizard. Really good.
He'll force a smile, and then he'll look towards Jack and he will just mouth, "Thank you," to you, Jack.
I need to talk to you after the show, all right?
He'll nod. You will be able to go off stage as the next act comes in, and so at that moment, if you want to say anything to Seymour privately, like off stage, you're welcome to.
Where's the drawing, by the way?
Jack still has the drawing, unless he left it on the desk. Like he would have let you keep your drawing. So.
Yeah. So I'll hand out the drawing to Eva and say, "I do believe this is your memory. Here."
I'm gonna grab it.
Thank you. I hope everything will get better with your mom.
Don't you worry. It will.
He just gives him a little hug and then runs off in the crowd.
I'll kind of like approach Seymour so that like no one can really hear what
Sure.
I'm saying, and say, "Look, the kid didn't need to see that. I don't know if you had any handles in like what you made us see in the trance, but honestly, like the poor kid, he didn't need to see what he saw from my past."
To be very honest with you, Mr. Jack, I had no idea that you were able to share visions like that. I was truthful when I said all I wanted was for him to think of a good memory and for you to visually see his memory in your mind. You were not supposed to be the dreamer. It was supposed to be him. So My apologies to you there. I think my abilities sort of got away with me at that point.
I guess the mind is a tricky thing.
Indeed, the mind is a very tricky thing. And I believe that I must have messed up somewhere, because that was not supposed to happen or play out the way that it did.
We all make mistakes. No worry. Still, thank you. That was a very impressive display. Throughout all of the shows, the magic show off that we saw before you, was unimpressed. I knew most of the tricks that were there, and I really wasn't having any fun. So this was an amazing display. Thanks for everything. And if the crowd doesn't believe in you because of how you look, even if you make mistakes, keep going. All right? You're awesome.
For a 16-year-old, you are wise beyond your years, young man.
Well, I guess I got that from my mother.
You strike me as someone who had to grow up very quickly.
Yeah, I really did.
Doesn't take a mind reader to notice that.
But you're absolutely right.
Good luck to you, Mr. Jack. I hope that you will be able to create good memories from here on out.
Yeah, I hope. Bye. As I go back to my father, I'll escort him out of the theater that we in. I guess. I guess he will be like stumbling around, like not really not a very let's say
Poised.
yeah, poised.
Poised, yeah.
Let's say escorting someone that's not very poised isn't really a good thing. So I'll try my best just to help my father out.
Okay. Yeah, your father is just totally missed the whole thing. Your outpouring of your memories. Completely missed that. And with that, we will end that scene, and with that, we will end Act 1 of your origin stories. Whew, a lot happened. Let's move on to Act 2. Everybody roll initiative once again. We are resetting. Everyone roll initiative. Joey got a 22.
Jesus Christ.
My gosh.
Still just our...
Dan got a 2. So, Cade, let's start with you then. All right. Cade, it is 7 years in the past. You are now 12 years old, I believe. And you know what that means, Sage, out of character. So, you've been working in the sweatshop setup for a few years now. It's been 4 years. And that morning, as you are all eating your breakfast, it's brown stuff with gray sauce today. Yes, brown stuff with gray sauce today. I would say Dennis brings in a new member of the orphanage. This member of the orphanage is a dragonborn. A dragonborn by the name of Amarillo. What does Amarillo do as Dennis escorts you over to have you have breakfast that morning?
You watch as this young dragonborn walks in, and it is... There is definitely... They are emotionally disturbed.
Okay.
They feel... There are just emotions running across their face. Most of it is either guilt or... I guess self-loathing is a good term. And they're not focused on anybody else. It is just head down, just following along. And it is very obvious, even though lizards typically are not very easy criers. Amarillo has been crying.
Dennis will sit you down. He'll snap his fingers, and he'll say, "Viridian, feed the new kid." Viridian, or Pawsey, or V, she sort of rolls her eyes. and she, pretty much begrudgingly goes over. She takes a plate, takes some of the brown stuff, slops on some of the gray stuff, then walks over, and she just kind of just drops the tray in front of you with a little bit of a plop. And then, she sits down across from you. She has a tray as well in her hand. She takes the fork. At this point, I think Viridian is probably more in her, almost adolescent years. And she takes a fork and she just, pokes at the brown stuff. Kind of just chews it and just kind of watches you. You should eat something. Breakfast is the most important part of the day, I've heard. Cat got your tongue? Viridia will look towards Cade. What's Cade doing at this moment? I'm just curious.
Was kind of eating and just kind of watching this interaction a little bit as a new person. I usually wouldn't engage too much, but those are pretty scales. I like the scales. So I'm kind of just watching and observing.
While you're watching and observing, you will meet eyes with Viridian, or V, and her tail will sort of rise up next to her shoulder, and it'll kind of do a little bit of this kind of thing with her tail to sort of motion you to come approach them.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I'll stand up and go over there. If V's saying it, hell yeah.
So will you sit right next to her or right next to...
I'll follow her social cues, wherever her tail's telling me to go is where I'll go.
She'll probably motion you to sit next to the new kid. Right next to the new kid.
I'll do so. And, hey. I'm Cade.
Cade's a lot nicer than I am, so I figured if I can't get you to crack, maybe he might be able to get you out of your shell.
I like her shell. You have pretty scales.
It's not so bad here. We get food. It's never super boring around here. Things are always interesting with all the different kids. All just waiting to be adopted. She just kind of goes, adopted.
She'll be adopted quick with those skills. They're very nice. You should try the food. It's my favorite. It's really good.
Look down. Oh, jeez. Looking down at the gruel, and there's very definitely a hesitant bite. Amarillo is not hungry right now, regardless of the fact of if they actually do need to eat. She'll take a bite. I imagine it's nothing like.
It's not bad tasting. It's just bland. It's not off-putting. I mean, it's definitely it's nourishing enough, but it's definitely not gonna get a very positive Yelp review anytime soon.
So
How old are
physically
you?
I'm 9 years old, but I'm mentally closer to your age.
Mentally, he's for a Dragonborn, he's closer to 12 because of the lifespan.
Gotcha.
And how quickly they mature. Yeah.
There's definitely a shell, you can tell. A lot of it is more along the lines. Could you make an insight for me, please?
I rolled fairly low. Got a 4. Pull up my a -1, so I got a 3.
Okay. You're not quite sure what is that exactly is going on, but there is definitely they're very emotionally distraught right now, and you're thinking that maybe you're starting to get through, but maybe the way you're approaching is a little not quite what is needed. But Amarillo will just take a few bites and just finally look up from everyone else. The Tabaxi and
Viridian sighs a little bit and says, "All right, look here, new kid. I'm gonna give you some advice. Normally I don't even bother, but I like you. May not seem like I like a lot of people, but I like you. And it's not because of your pretty skin. So, if you're gonna survive here, you're gonna have to be a little tougher, or at least pretend that you're tougher. See, Dennis and Grella, they don't like weakness in their kids. They like you to be subservient, but they don't want you to be weak. So, if I were you, I don't know what you're dealing with, what you're going through right now. I don't care. What I do care is for you to survive. And so that's my number one priority right now. Do you understand, new kid?
I guess what's weak about showing your emotions?
Cade, can you take this one? I'm not very good with emotions.
I would listen to V. She knows what she's talking about and she helps us out. I don't care what your emotions are, but just if you don't want to get hurt, don't show them.
This is basically advice that Amarillo has been told is completely opposite to what they have been experiencing their entire life. And it definitely takes them by shock.
The old hag, Grella, she has a soft spot for the sensitive ones, V says. And as she says that, she sort of like looks a little uncomfortably at Cade.
It's nothing you guys did. It's not this place. I'm sure this place is great, isn't it?
If you're over 8, we get to go to the other building. That's something different.
Something different.
Yeah. It's better. We get to do stuff. Are you over 8?
Yeah, I'm
You'll see. We're not supposed to talk about it, but I'll show you. Tomorrow, I'll show you. Stick with me.
Okay. Cool. I'll turn to the Tabaxi and was Posy.
People call me Posy, people call me V. Full name is Viridian. Really, you can call me whatever you want.
She doesn't like to be called ma'am.
Stick with Cade. He's loyal.
Well, sure, I guess. I don't know what we'll be doing or why we can't talk about it, but that doesn't sound great.
Oh, it's not so bad. Gives you a sense of purpose.
Gives you something to do.
Exactly. Something to do.
And you should eat. It'll be harder tomorrow if you don't eat.
They'll take a few more bites, and I'm not sure if you heard me, but she said, like, music.
Oh, she asked us if we like music?
Yeah. It wasn't like the purpose. Like, what is, like, it gives you a purpose, and she said,
like music? Music? I guess. We don't really get to hear a lot of music here. Sometimes Grella or Dennis will let us to listen to some music if we're really good.
Okay.
All right.
It's normally what they like, though. Old people music.
Well, I think we might like that then.
There's other music than what Grella listens to?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of other music. filled with 4-letter words.
That sounds cool. I want to hear it.
How powerful would Forest be? Are we still like at power level reduced, whatever our children's age are? Are we up to our normal?
No,
age?
you're young, so you're not quite. You don't believe that you would be able to overpower, even though they're old. They're still dwarves.
No, I'm not
Dwarves are
talking
pretty
like if we could overpower them. I'm talking about like our power levels. If we have abilities we want to use.
Yeah, I'll do it on a case-by-case basis. If there's a specific ability you'd like to try to use, let me know, and I'll decide on the fly.
If I was trying to put out like a little bit of illusory music that would fill the air around us in the vicinity,
you probably could do that.
Okay. So there is a very slow melody that takes place, like violins. Sad, emotional piece that seems to begin to play, and it probably sounds like some of the stuff that they would listen to when it comes to like orchestral, like.
Sure.
But then it starts changing into more of like a modern pop, quick beats, and then it turns into like EDM, electronic, and then it just like goes through a wide variety of music genres.
That's cool.
And it's like,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Blowing Cade's mind, but he is like nervous about who hears it, so it like he entranced, but after a couple moments of being entranced, you see him kind of like realize where he is, and he starts looking around scared.
Only you three can hear it.
Oh, really? Would I know that? Or not?
No, you would not know.
So exactly as I said, whether or not other people hear it.
I guess you would have the ability to resist it if you weren't.
Roll me a d20 roll. Ethan, please. Yeah, roll me a d20. Just want to see what you get. Yeah. Okay. Just straight up. I want to see what you get.
13.
Okay. Cool. Viridian is probably gonna go. Shh. I don't know what sort of witchcraft you're doing, but I would pull back on that. We're not supposed to be listening to music unless we're allowed to.
Can't listen to music? What can you do?
What you're told, Viridian says.
And what are you told?
Viridian is about to say something, and before she says something, a voice from behind you says, "Why, a lot of things, my dear." And Grella is right behind you, and she, is smiling down at the three of you, a very toothy smile. She looks up at you, Amarillo, up and down, and she says, "I see we have a new child in the orphanage. What was your name again, dear?"
I thought it was on the papers.
The woman leans in a little bit. "I'm sorry, I can't hear very well. Could you speak a little bit louder?"
Amarillo.
Amarillo. Such beautiful skin you have, Amarillo. And she starts to sort of caress your arm a little bit.
Immediately, it's just a flinch, and I'm trying to like pull away. Not used to people touching her.
V, who normally plays the tough girl, she immediately like falls in line. Like she just ignores what she's doing, and she's just gonna continue eating her food. I don't know if Cade reacts in any way when he's seeing the new
frozen.
Kid. Just frozen.
Not eating, just kind of looking straight down and holding completely still.
Amarillo is not intimidated by this lady.
Not intimidated, but you still like are.
It's more of like the contact that frightens them, not the
actual. Okay, she She leans in a little bit towards, not up to your face, but she leans in a little bit, and she says, I heard that you're a little bit of a songbird. You have a little bit of musical talent.
Yes.
Maybe you might be able to regale us with a song or two, my little songbird, she says. As, again, her rings are just like going up against your skin a little bit more, the cold rings on her fingers.
I normally love music, but I would really appreciate it if you didn't touch me.
As when you say that, she leans in again and says, I'm sorry, dear, what did you say? Speak louder.
I don't mind music, but I would really appreciate it if you did not touch me.
As soon as you say that, she immediately grabs a hold of your arm very forcibly, and she squeezes very tightly with a very strong vice grip. It looks like her face starts to twist a little bit, and her face also starts to grow red. But then it recedes slightly. She lets go of your wrist, but she sort of like moves towards you, up to your face a little bit more, and she says, since you're new, my little songbird, I'll cut you a little bit of a break. There are rules here at the orphanage, and the rule is that you do not talk back to your elders like that. Myself and Dennis, we demand respect from all of the children here. And if you do not give us respect, then we will not give you respect back. And I'm telling you, Miss Amarillo, you definitely do not want to get onto our bad side. Isn't that right, Cade?
Miss ma'am.
You are a smart little bird, aren't you? A smart little songbird, are you not? What are you doing? Out of character.
Well, I make
Nice.
rolls personally if I don't know
Nice.
quite what I'm going to do, so I
Perfect.
just made a
Sure.
present. I think in the moment there is a bit of defiance that shows, and Amarillo will kind of return a little bit of the in-your-face sort of looking straight up at her, no fear. Respect is earned, not given. And yanks their arm away. If you let them.
You pull back and she says, oh, a feisty one, aren't you? Perhaps I misunderestimated you. Perhaps you're not as yellow as I thought you were. Very well. We'll talk later, my little songbird. We'll see if you will continue singing the same tune by the end of the week. And she will turn around, and her face goes from really like upset to very Professor Umbridge smiling as she starts continuing down to the rest of the hall, the dining area.
As she walks away, she'll hear in her head, "We'll see."
She will hear? in her head?
Yeah, she hears that in her head.
Okay, she'll pause, but then she'll continue walking after she pauses. Shortly after, the next day, Amarillo and Cade, you are sent into the sweatshop. You are going to be working with the pickled bitterroot, and Cade's probably gonna help show you the ropes. Again, because your first time, you're just gonna be polishing jars just like Cade did. Cade's been he's been promoted to doing more important things here, like helping to shelve the jars. And again, unfortunately, because maybe you were nervous, or maybe because somebody else was clumsy. Actually, I'm gonna say that maybe another kid like was clumsy and accidentally like bumped into you, Cade, and you dropped a jar. And again, it falls to the floor and it shatters. And Dennis says, "What was that?" And he's just gonna start angrily like approaching you and the other kid. You're nearby as well, just so you know, Amarillo. What do you do as Dennis is approaching you?
Not even looking up from the work, almost like she's trying to distract herself from everything that's going on. Just glass. What else could it have been?
Do you say that?
Yeah. Not even looking up from, just still working.
Kay, do you say or do anything?
Think about tattling on this other kid. But I just decide against it, and I accidentally dropped another glass, sir.
Cade, you clumsy fool. That, he says, is lost wages. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again.
Well, we'll make sure that it doesn't happen again. And you, he says, turning to you, you just started here. Are you already having a bit of a lip? He says, turning to Amarillo.
Dragonborn are lizards. We don't have lips.
Well, you may not have a lip, but you've got a bit of a smart mouth there. We'll see about this. And so he is going to grab a hold of the two of you, and he's just going to drag you out of the room. I don't know if either of you will try to resist or not, but he looks very ticked off.
Not necessarily resisting, but not like water flowing down a river. It's somewhere in between.
Okay.
There wouldn't be any like active fighting rolls or anything.
He's going to take you off to the side room. Now, yes, the chokey is a default thing, but Dennis, especially because of what Amarillo said, he seems particularly ticked off, more than normal, Cade. And you've at least witnessed this situation yourself in the past from the other kids, whom they've really ticked off. But they take you over, he takes you over your room, and he sort of like throws you both into the room. And he'll say, "I'm gonna start with you, Cade." And he will look towards you, Amarillo, with daggers in his eyes. And he basically takes Cade and he like shoves him to the ground so that he's like kneeling on the ground. And Amarillo, you're gonna see Dennis starting to remove his belt right now. So he's taking his belt off. He's starting to coil it up a little bit. You probably are smart enough to know what's about to happen. Do either of you do anything before Dennis starts wailing?
Seeing the belt and having never been physically punished before in their lives, and never really have acted out before. No such punishment has ever come to Yellow. There's just immediate surprise of, wow, this is very different from the environment I was in. And right as he raises the belt to lay the first hit, there's just, why are you punishing him? It wasn't his fault. Some other kid knocked into him.
So you're saying that to him, or
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that in his head?
I'm saying that out loud. I'm not.
You're saying that out loud, and Dennis, he's just so angry. He's not even bothered to respond to. He's not even paying attention, and he's just gonna take his belt and he's just gonna give a whap onto Cade. He's gonna hold his arm up again to strike him a second time. Do you do anything else other than talk to him, Amarillo?
Did Cade want to do anything? I did kind of take...
It's kind of resigned for Cade. Just protecting his vitals is basically it. Just instinctual curling
I'll
up.
repeat the message in his head.
Again, he doesn't care, doesn't do anything. Another whap. What do you do, either of you?
I'll walk forward and place a hand on his other hand that I'm not sure. He's grabbing and then hitting. So it'll be like on the hand he is grabbing. with, and there's just a gentle touch.
A gentle touch. Yeah, you'll give him a gentle touch. Dennis, still raging, he looks towards you, and he pretty much just swings at you with a backhand across the face. Do you try to dodge the backhand in any way, or try to resist in any way?
I think I've never been hit in my life, so there wouldn't be an instinct to dodge. It's just surprise of like, he hit me.
Yeah. You, for the very first time in your life, get struck across the face. I would probably say he's a very strong dwarf, even for his age. You probably, get thrown off your feet a little bit. And Dennis says, "Know your place!" And he's going to go and whack Cade a third time. What do? Cade, right now, you can start seeing that he's starting to bleed a bit. His shirt's starting to get a little bit soaked with some of the blood that's coming out from the wound.
To accompany the blood coming out from the belt wounds, there's also scratching that's happening with Cade as he's on the ground, creating his own little blood pool.
Then, knowing I can't get through to this person, I am going to approach Cade, who is being held and beaten, and I'm just going to lay a hand on his shoulder.
Squeeze that hand.
And how does this work? Would you allow me to do a healing touch as he's being beaten?
Yeah, and I would probably say this might be the very first time it manifests itself by your pure will of wanting to help this this person.
All right.
Go ahead and roll your healing touch, and you will start to heal, magically heal Cade's wounds. Dennis, again, he's so blinded by rage, he doesn't even notice that he's being healed, and he's about to strike again with the belt. Do you do anything? Because right now you're with Cade at the moment, so you're technically in the way of the belt. So do you want to remain in the way of the belt, or what do you do?
I am completely ignoring the dwarf. So whoever he hits, it's just hitting.
Whoever he hits. He's about to strike with the belt. But the strike never comes. And the two of you start to hear a sudden gasping from the dwarf. And he has dropped the belt, and he starts clutching his chest. And Cade, you know that that Dennis has had some heart problems, and he needs to take pills whenever he has these sudden heart problem attacks. And he starts to drag himself over to a desk or something, or a counter, and he finds his medicine capsule or medicine container, and he opens it up very quickly, very rapidly.
I want to kick it out of his hand.
Sure, yeah, you can easily kick out of his hand. And when that happens, he looks very surprised and shocked, and he says, "Oh, you're going to get it, boy, you're going to get it." And he's going to try to scramble to get to the...
Kind of shocked myself. One little note is just that even though I was being beaten, it's odd because it's I'm crying, but no sound ever came out.
Okay.
But whatever pill he's trying to get to, I just keep brushing it away, further and further away.
You're going to continue playing keep away with the pills from this man as he's getting angry and angrier, but the angrier he gets, the more pain he feels in his heart, and he's just cursing and cursing. And eventually, the medicine ends up running into Amarillo's feet, rolls over to Amarillo's feet, and this man, you can see the life ebbing away from him as his heart is failing him. He's reaching towards you, Amarillo, asking for the pills, asking for you to give him the pills.
I can probably know that even if he takes the pills, he's too far along on this condition. And the past minute or two of him kicking around the pills, it's just been this, not sure where any of this is coming from, or
Kate's hand is gently gonna like cover your hand that's holding the pills, and he's gonna whisper, "I want to watch."
And that scares Yellow. Instinctively, what? Watch him die?
Yeah.
I'll look down at this dwarf. How is he doing? Is he very close, or is he still struggling?
He looks very close to at least passing out. At least.
I think you need a lot of help. Both of you, different kinds of help. But I don't think any of this is the way. And you're not, like, holding me back, are you?
My hand is over your hand with the pills right now. It hasn't been forceful.
I'm gonna let you take the pills.
Okay. And I'll take him and I'll like put him to my chest. And I just want to watch his face.
I'm gonna lean down, and even though he has been physically abusing both of us for the past few minutes, or a few minutes previous, there is a look of just pure heartache and sadness across Amarillo's face. She genuinely cares for this man's well-being.
In contrast, this is the first time Kate smiled in a long time. And it's a big smile.
And as he's falling into unconsciousness, I'm going to place a hand around his face, and anger is a tool. You misuse that tool, and you can break a few fingers. Any tool can become a weapon, but a tool is always a tool before it is a weapon. I hope you know that I really want to help you. And I don't know what you're going through or why you're doing any of this. I feel for you. And as he fades into what I'm assuming is like a dying, unconscious stance.
A very, very painful death. Yes.
I'm going to use my healing hands to stabilize him.
Okay.
So he'll be unconscious but stabilized.
You will attempt to heal this man, but unfortunately, he's just too far gone. Like, especially because this is your first time manifesting the healing magic, it's just not going to be enough to save this man from the brink of death. And he will start to sputter as he slumps to the floor. Just for cinematic purposes, both him and Grella, they wear around their necks like this talisman of Timora. They're both heavy worshippers of Timora. So just cinematically, as he falls to the ground, like the necklace of Timora, like the fastener like breaks a little bit, and then the little coin like rolls around in the ground and sort of like starts to fall in front of Kane's.
There is a panicked look in Amarillo's eyes as she did not intend to kill this person.
That felt good.
What do you mean it felt good?
That felt good.
I'll say with that, we'll end the scene there. Cool. Thank you. Very well done, y'all. That was intense.
Are we
Cool.
the villains?
I don't know.